Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. So we're talking about that division. Let's talk Chiefs 30, Panthers 27. Again, the margins are thinner. Their defense is not as good as last year. Their red zone offense is struggling. And then they get the ball. Mahomes makes that great scramble down the left sideline, and you're like, it's really interesting watching them. I don't think we're giving Kansas City credit for this. It's virtually impossible to win back-to-back titles, even if you have Brady and Belichick in their prime. To win back-to-back and be going for a third, there's only so many motivational speeches. You go on the road today at Carolina, you're an 11-point favorite. And I mean, you looked at the film. I mean, all these guys, you're not fooling anybody. But I think Kansas City is going to be dialed in. I think a lot of their issues now, like today, do I believe they installed everything they have? Do I really believe that? Or do I believe there are moments now when they're taking chances with offensive players where they're trying to develop a Worthy or a Noah Gray? I kind of feel like when I watch Kansas City, they're playing with their food. But and again, Buffalo is better. I don't think they're buttoned up right now. But the way they came down, Mahomes 3 of 4, big scramble, final drive, I'm like, experimentation's the wrong word, but I don't think they're installing everything. I feel like they're trying to find out what they are. Is that fair?
Well, I think their defense is not quite as good as it was early in the season because of injuries.
It's not.
But we've been saying that they're very, very comfortable winning these weird games. And when there was more than enough time on the clock, even when Carolina scored and got the 2-point, you felt confident that they would have a chance at a field goal. They were also up 27-19 late in the game. So it's not like it was flipped and they had to have some storming comeback. Like they were in control of the game.
Right.
We talk about the 49ers, right? They just ran out of gas. Well, they have been to 3 straight conference championship games and 1 Super Bowl. And then they had a year off in 2020, and then they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 19. The Kansas City Chiefs, since 2018, have gone to every conference championship game. And I'm pretty sure they've won back-to-back. They won another one, and they lost Tampa. They've gone to 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls and currently are 10-1. So it's like, however they have done, it's remarkable. And I watched the Chiefs posted something in Andy in the locker room. Like, we don't apologize for wins around here. We're taking everyone's best shot. And say this about Carolina. The last, I would say, month, I mean, they had won back-to-back games, and then they went on a bye. I kind of had circled that if the Chiefs had beaten the Bills, it's like I might have taken them upset special in that. And even this game, like after that Bills game, Chiefs are human. Like, are they going to give their, like you said, not just the coaching their best shot, but the players? Like, do you take Carolina as seriously as you did the previous week? You cannot. Like, these are 28, 27, 26, 30-year-old human beings. But they're 10-1. They are on at equally, if not more impressive, of any 6-7 year stretch of the New England Patriot dynasty of what they're doing right now. Now, if you were a betting man, the Patriots lost a lot in the second in the conference championship game over 20 years. This, you would say, probably based on what I've seen, wouldn't shock me if they lost in the second round, right? Or in the conference championship game, especially depending. I mean, now they only have the 1 game over the Bills. But this is a weird down year for them, and they're going to be, 14-3, maybe 15-2. That's an incredible accomplishment. So when we talk about the Andy Reid comparing to Belichick,
with injuries, they're trying to figure out the red zone offense. They haven't had Isaiah Pacheco. Like they're experimenting. They don't know exactly what they are. For the record, we know the Raiders and the Giants are drafting a quarterback. I watched Bryce Young today, who's arguably the best quarterback ever in Southern California high school history, who was dominant in college. I ran into his high school coach the other night at Mater Dei, a legend who's retired. And I said, best player you ever had, first, second name out was Bryce Young. He's just a remarkable player, great kid. I don't think Carolina's going to draft a quarterback. I think the class is too weak. I think they think Bryce is better than anybody outside of Shedeur Sanders. I think Carolina's going to give Bryce Young another year. What say
Yeah,
you?
I would say he's done a lot, like his version of what Caleb has done these last couple weeks, over the
Yep.
last 3 games for him. He's looked like a real
Yep.
player. Now, if you could do it all over again, would you have mortgaged what you did to get him? I mean, I think probably not. I would not. But he has been more than respectable these last 3 weeks. And confidence is a powerful thing for young players. Listen,
Yep.
he's a little small, not a great athlete, but he does have a natural feel for the position. And that's what was so head scratching when they essentially had to bench him, is he was inaccurate, he was making awful decisions, he just looked lost. And maybe
Yeah.
sometimes like you just take a reset. Listen, I think Anthony Richardson, even today, they kind of got work, just has looked a lot better. I thought he looked a lot better today.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bryce needed to be like humbled like Anthony Richardson, but he definitely like just take a step back, was probably healthy for him. And he looks like a real NFL quarterback. Now, their team, a lot of question
Well,
marks. Is their coaching staff good enough? Is their talent? Long way to go. But I'm with you. Like, what are you going to draft Cam Ward or Quinn Ewers? Like, no.
Thursday Night Football is on. It's only on Prime Video. Best season yet, packed with big rivalries and even bigger stars. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, Kaylee Hartung every week. Games you can't miss. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with football's best party. TNF tonight, Thursday Night Football tonight. If you're not a Prime member, no problem. Sign up. 30-day free trial. Cancel anytime. Thursday Night Football, and it's on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details. I want to talk about the Lions 24 and the Colts 6. That was my upset pick of the week. I thought Detroit, it was just due for, yeah. So Detroit, I mean, you almost never see this. Had 37 to 22 minutes time of possession. They're boringly methodical. Anthony Richardson, they only had 11 first downs. He only had 11 completions. I think he's Jalen Milroe. I think Milroe is better at this point. But I think the Colts, again, I think with Shane Steichen, they're going to stick with him another year. I just think that's the reality. I think if you draft somebody in the first round and who's only played 13 college games, you have to stick with Anthony Richardson. But I'm watching the Lions, and they didn't play particularly well, and the Colts had multiple opportunities in this game. Detroit is the most dominant NFL team since the Brady Moss Patriots. It's incredible. Like, because Kansas City's won back-to-back titles, would you be shocked if Detroit went to a Super Bowl and clobbered Baltimore, the Chargers, Buffalo, or Kansas City? And I mean, with 2 weeks to prepare and they're healthy, rolled. I mean, this offensive line just takes the oxygen. When you play the Lions, you will have no rhythm offensively.
Yeah.
Because even if you score, you're going to sit and watch for 8 minutes. They take all of your rhythm away. And again, Anthony Richardson has 11 first downs. But Kansas City's trying to find its offense. Baltimore's had these bad offensive showings. The good teams, maybe Philadelphia is their kryptonite. But when I watched them today, and I'm like, they didn't play well. And it's 37 to 22 time of possession.
I think the hard part about football is I thought this exactly about the Ravens. I thought they were going to roll through the playoffs. I loved them in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, and I thought that they were going to end up playing the Niners, and that I'd seen them beat the crap out of them on Christmas, and I expected it to happen again. And football can be weird that way. Now, the difference is the Ravens get off when the Lamar pass and him running around ratio gets off. The Lions,
right?
Their defense today was really impressive. It's like, we can win an ugly game. And there was a couple moments where they just forced long third downs, and you're like, God, they're missing players. They're getting injuries, and they don't.
Yep.
But offensively, where they don't hesitate is they got two backs. So like their Lamar and their offense is the running back duo. And one guy will run it right up your throat and break tackles, and the other guy looks like, when he gets in the open, he looks like Deion Sanders. I mean, that guy can fly.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff made a couple throws today on the move. It was like, geez, like he's playing the best football of his career. The confidence that franchise has. But here's the thing. And I remember in 2019 when the 49ers were the 1 seed, it came down to the last play of the season against Seattle and like the Dan Buns 2.0 Dre Greenlaw tackle. They only have a 1-game lead. It feels like they are running circles around the conference. And the Vikings are 9-2. The Packers today, you get that win against the 49ers. All of a sudden, they win on Thanksgiving. They're only a couple games behind. Like, their lead is not as big. Same thing with the Chiefs, who've had this remarkable season. They've already been beat by the Bills. They only got one game. So the margins, this is a great part about the NFL. But yeah, I think the Lions it would be stunning to see them lose. Now, where it would change if somehow the home field fell out of favor and all of a sudden, they're the two, even if they won the division, but they had to go to Philly. We'll see how Philly looks over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. That would be very difficult, right?
Well, I was thinking about this. I think both of us love Dan Campbell and what he's created. Sometimes he can get very emotional. Last year against the Cowboys, he gets very emotional. But I was thinking to myself, Andy Reid's in the other conference. Jim Harbaugh, the other conference. The truth is, the next best team in that conference is Nick Sirianni, and we don't trust him situationally. Yeah. We don't trust him circumstantially. So it's like there isn't sort of a wizard. Shanahan's not going to be in the playoffs. McVay's team doesn't. I don't think they'll beat Philadelphia tonight as we're going right now. So my thing is, I worry a little bit about Dan Campbell and situational football. But those guys are
same
with
the quarterbacks, right? I get asked a lot about your opinions and Nick Wright's opinions. Hey, tell them this. And, the civilian comment on Nick's on Jared Goff. Well, Jared Goff doesn't have to play Lamar, Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes in the first, second, and third round. He's going to draw Jordan Love, who he plays multiple times a year. He's going to draw, Geno Smith potentially, right? Or Kyler Murray. Or Kirk Cousins. So it's not even just the coaching, it's the quarterback matchup. Like, you went in last year, the AFC Championship game, you're like, listen, Mike McDonald, John Harbaugh, they have as good of a chance as any coach who's played Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo over the last 6 or 7 years, going back to Belichick and Josh McDaniels. But then that quarterback matchup, you're like, Lamar's getting tight. Mahomes is loose. Well, Jared Goff, I watched him last year. Went toe-to-toe with Stafford in the first round. Right. And this goes back to a couple years ago when they didn't make the playoffs and he ended Aaron Rodgers' career in Lambeau. Remember? It was like, well, Jared Goff can't play outside. He turns into a pumpkin. And that was a moment I forget the date, but it had to be like January 4th or 5th. He looked good. He was excellent. Had essentially the game-winning pass at the end to ice the game. And ever since, they've never looked back. And honestly, they're a field goal decision from Dan Campbell of potentially beating the Niners by a couple scores. They had the chance to kind of nail in the coffin if he just kicks a field goal. And listen, we can argue till we're blue in the face, but they were kicking their ass. And so to me, then you get think about this. If they get the home field advantage, as the 1 seed, they only have to win 2 games. And then the Super Bowl obviously is in a dome, which plays perfectly to them. So their speed, honestly, they would probably love to get the Chiefs because how the Chiefs score with them. Right, it gets a little more difficult, if Lamar can go on a run or Josh Allen go on a run because those teams can score points. And if they got into a situation like that, they could go toe-to-toe with them. But if they get into a position where, the Chargers or the Broncos, one of these other teams, they would not match up well against Detroit because Detroit gets 20 points in their sleep, right? And if they're on, they get to mid-30s, no problem, even with guys dropping like flies.